and welcome to KentOnline live on KMTV. I'm Keelan Webster. Your top stories on Friday the 30th of November. Stay of execution for Tunbridge tree. Campaigners finally down after developer reprieve.
I'm live in Tunbridge where there's a big update on the tree protest.
She will come back. Manager leads support ahead of Kent goalkeeper's cancer battle.
Even like David De Gea at Man United, getting involved, sending her shirt and gloves, it's massive to see how football comes together.
Pioneering panels. Kent School uses solar to save thousands of pounds.
We're really seeing the benefit here and we're seeing it pay off, and school budgets, as we know, are very, very tight in all areas.
And in sport, return of the Hess. Dover boss flies back to the southwest for Spitfire's reunion.
First tonight, campaigners who sat in a tree in Tunbridge for a week in an attempt to save it have won their battle. The Keep River Lawn Green Group scoured the popular horse chestnut tree last Friday after plans for a medical centre revealed the tree would be removed. But today, developers Asura announced an agreement has been made to leave the tree alone. Christina Curtis is back at the tree for us this evening. Christina.
So, like you said, I've actually been following this story for the majority of the week. Protesters have been staying up in the Tunbridge tree, which unfortunately you can't see behind me. But they've been staying here as part of a protest to get the tree safe and to not have it removed. Now, their plans to do so were part of a development for a new medical centre. But it's positive news tonight. Assura, the developers, met with campaigners Keep River Lawn Green Group, and it was quite a positive meeting in which it was decided that independent tree experts would be brought in to evaluate the tree, and if it is safe to do so, the tree can remain whilst construction goes ahead. So I'm now joined by Mark Hood, who was actually in the tree since last Thursday. So Mark, how did the meeting go this morning?
Yeah, the meeting went very well. The developers came with an open mind. They listened to what we had to say, we listened to what they had to propose, and we were delighted that they decided to bring in an independent tree survey. Next on Monday, they're going to carry out a root radar of the base of the tree, so they'll get a three-dimensional image of exactly what's going on, and hopefully they'll be able to put in the supports, avoiding the major roots. So we're very hopeful that the professional arboriculturalist is going to come along and they're going to give our tree a clean bill of health.
So you've had about 2,000 signatures on your petitions. It's a really well-loved tree. Why have you been campaigning for it?
It's quite a special tree. It's in an amenity space. It's got a beautiful blossom in the May. It's got wonderful conkers. The kids love foraging for the fruit of the tree. It's the best tree in this little site, and we love it.
Brilliant. Well, thank you ever so much, and have fun back in your own bed tonight.
Thank you.
Christina, thank you very much indeed. Next, a major funding boost has been announced for the ambulance service in Medway. The Secretary of State for Health announced yesterday that South East Coast Ambulance Service will receive a £6.5 million investment. So will this really make a difference? Poppy Jeffrey's been to find out.
The Secretary of State for Health and Social Care has announced a £6.5 million funding boost for the South East Coast Ambulance Service in Medway. He was in the county to visit a number of organisations, including Medway Maritime Hospital and the RBLI.
Medway Hospital is on a good road to improvement. The leadership there are strong, and the staff, the clinicians are all behind the plan to turn the hospital around, and it's getting better. So that is good news. The new £10 million emergency department came on stream earlier this month and is clearly making things better at the hospital. I also want the ambulance service to be better. We're putting £11 million into the ambulance service to make sure that we can turn the ambulances around more quickly and get them back out on the road. So there's investment going into the NHS here in Kent and in Medway to make sure that people get the NHS that they need and deserve.
The money will fund a Make Ready hub to quickly turn around ambulances so that paramedics are more available to help patients. A Make Ready hub uses specialist staff and facilities to restock, refuel and clean ambulances, getting them back on the road faster. I've come to the existing Medway ambulance station. So this is the first time I've ever been in the back of an ambulance, and hopefully it will be the last. But most interestingly about this is that when they come in, you might not realise this, but they have to replace every single item in this ambulance so it's sterile and new, and that accounts for the turnaround time. And that's what South East Coast Ambulance Service hopes this new funding will address.
So it'd be more staff, so we've also got a recruitment campaign for the next 2 years to recruit nearly 300 staff across North Kent, but also make it quicker so the staff's vehicles are prepared at every end of every shift, and also that they're able to get out quicker to those emergency calls.
But the firm is still in special measures. Is this a move in the right direction?
Absolutely. So as part of our special measures, we are improving as a trust. We're certainly a different place than where we were 3 years ago. We've been on this journey for Make Ready processes for the last few years now. However, this will be one of the final pieces to actually make our centre for our staff outstanding, and hopefully that will get a better recommendation in the future.
It sounds like CCAM's emergency call has been answered, and they now hope this boost will help them save more lives. This is Bobby Jeffrey for KMTV in Medway.
The manager of a teenage footballer from Kent who's been diagnosed with liver cancer is backing her to come back stronger than ever. Jordan Dawes from Swanley's received support from across the world after the news broke on social media. She was sent gloves and a shirt from Manchester United keeper David De Gea, whilst a fundraising page for her has raised more than £3,000. Emma Ray Woodhouse has been speaking to her friends and the club.
She actually is what all the teachers say, like the best student they have, always has a work, always works hard, and in aspects of football, she's like an amazing goalkeeper.
A well-loved girl and tipped to go on to great things in football. But when 18-year-old Jordan Dawes from Swanley had a stroke and then was diagnosed with cancer, hers, her friends and her family's world was turned upside down.
My mum came down and got her, and then the next day she took her to hospital and she said it was a stroke, and I was just like, it like freed me completely because she's so young. And then the next day when I spoke to her mum, she was like, oh, it's cancer. Like, no words could explain.
However, the goalkeeper hasn't let the news bring her spirits down, and her team have been doing all they can to keep their goalie smiling. Her manager, Sam McNeil, knows that she'll be looking to get her gloves back on as soon as possible.
Kind, caring, considerate, a really popular member of the squad, a massive part of the success that we've had. This is a setback for her, but knowing her mentality, knowing how strong she is, she'll use this to come back even stronger. Sort of overwhelmed by how well she's taken this in her stride, and she's using every little positive she can to push on even further, to make sure that she overcomes this and gets through it and comes back a stronger person, which I know she will.
As well as from her team, Jordan's received overwhelming support from celebrities.
Hello Jordan, it's Jack here. I just want to send you a little message just to say I hope you make a full recovery. I want to see you back on the pitch. I'm sending you lots of love and I wish you all the best.
And as the story was shared on social media, it even caught the attention of her idol, Manchester United goalkeeper David De Gea.
It's strange how, although looking around like we're just a lower semi-pro sort of setup in grassroots football, but to see that the very top end of professional football, the England ladies players that have contacted Frank Kirby, for example, and then even like David De Gea at Man United, getting involved, sending her shirt and gloves, it's massive to see how football comes together in hard times.
Jordan's battle now continues as she moves to King's College Hospital for more treatment. But her story has made the world's and Kent's football's communities united. Emma Ray Woodhouse for KMTV.
Next tonight, children in Kent are calling on their parents to put down their mobile phones after it was revealed more than a quarter use their phones during meal times. Frankie and Benny's, which has 6 restaurants in the county, is trialling a scheme where families can get free children's meals if parents give their phones to staff before eating. But do you think parents are spending too much time on their phones? We are shoppers in Chatham.
I think in general people are losing the ability to communicate with their children properly, how it should be done, to sit at a table, eat nicely together, enjoy their time together.
I think really it's a very, very good idea, and I hope Frankie Benny's is successful with it, because at one place you should really keep phones away, that's at dinner time, and it becomes more of a family occasion.
Yeah, I don't know, it's something I've never really had when I was growing up, because smartphones were never a thing for me, but I see it happening all the time now. Like, parents would just rather be on Facebook or whatever instead of talking to their kids.
The way things have gone, it's just a complete breakdown, really, isn't it, of relationships in the family. It might all be, it's not just the parents, it's the children and the parents, isn't it? They might all be on it at the same time.
I think phones have taken over everything, really, and a lot of parents use their phones to avoid getting kids upset at a meal table when they're trying not to disrupt other people that are sitting next to them. So instead of actually parenting, they're using the phone instead as a little bit of a guilt trip, really, I think.
I think that's a general trend, actually. People do tend to spend more time on their phone and probably do ignore their children, yes.
Shoppers in Chatham there, but what about you? What do you think? Is this scheme a good idea? Let us know by using the hashtag KentSays on social media. Coming up after the break, the eco-savvy solar school. Find out how a secondary has cut its energy bills by half.
It does take an element of risk. You have to look at what you can do as a school, and you have to look at financing it and taking those grants. But actually, we're really seeing the benefit here, and we're seeing it pay off. And school budgets, as we know, are very, very tight in all areas, and finding these little ways to make a difference.
Welcome back to KentOnline live on KMTV. A school in North Fleet believe the installation of hundreds of solar panels will save them tens of thousands on their energy bills every year. North Fleet School for Girls will loan £150,000 to install the largest amount of solar panels on a school across the UK. Isabel Miller has more details about the project.
Northfleet School for Girls have installed hundreds of solar panels on the roofs of their school and are hoping to save thousands of pounds. On this 22-acre site, 681 solar panels power 5 buildings. They say that they're projecting a £20,000 saving each year, and they say it's the largest in the whole of the UK. Despite it being a windy and damp day, the solar panels are still generating energy. In September this year, the school used almost half the amount of energy compared to 2017.
We obviously looked at the amount of electricity that the school is using, and as the site is a big site, we obviously use quite a bit of electricity. So it really looked at the areas of what was our annual consumption, and then to look at the size of system that could be accommodated on the roof. And having had 3 different companies come in and provide quotations, we ended up with a system of 180 kilowatts, which is quite a substantial amount of electricity generation.
But it's not without a cost. The school took out an interest-free loan of £150,000 on the project, which they have to pay back over 10 years.
It does take an element of risk. You have to look at what you can do as a school, and you have to look at financing it and taking those grants. But actually we're really seeing the benefit here, and we're seeing it pay off. And school budgets, as we know, are very, very tight in all areas, and finding these little ways to make a difference and allow students to see the benefit in their education.
The solar project included the students as well, who worked together to try and make the school more environmentally friendly.
Say in the PE department, we could get them some more like footballs if they need that, or we can get them some more like basketball nets or things like that, so we can actually put it towards the student instead of wasting more money on energy.
Also, it gives the student voice on the decisions that the adults make. So we, as students, we go to the school, we use most of the electronics and stuff, so we should have a right to say our opinion, and that's what the eco team basically does.
It seems like this could be the future, but other schools will have to wait for the same opportunities to be given to them for a more sustainable and cost-effective future. Isabel Miller for KMTV.
Next this evening, a man's been rushed to a London hospital after he was hit by a lorry in Maidstone town centre. Holland Road in the Kent town was closed between Headley Street and Sittingbourne Road after the crash at shortly before 10 o'clock this morning. A man in his 30s has been taken to King's College Hospital with a serious leg injury. A cordon was put in place around Princes Street, and at least 4 police cars were at the scene near County Hall. Kent commuters are set for yet another price hike on their rail fares after train bosses announced an increase of 3.1% this morning. The county already has some of the highest fares in the country, and Harry Peat joins me in the studio now to look at what it could mean for you. So Harry, what will be the impact for Kent's commuters?
Yeah, well, the announcement was made this morning by the Rail Delivery Group, who represent all the train companies across the country. Now, it's going to be particularly unwelcome news for the season ticket holders here in Kent, especially because of our great high-speed network and also the proximity to London. That means that on average our commuters usually pay a bit more compared to everywhere else for their annual season tickets. Now the average season tickets estimated to cost around £100 more for Kent commuters. For example, Maidstone to Victoria is already around £4,500 a year for a season ticket, and Canterbury to London, for instance, that to London Bridge, that's currently £5,400 a year. That could go to 5.6, so quite a big jump there. So annual season ticket holders, they're particularly unhappy about this, especially since the timetable changes in May caused lots of people to be upset, and of course they're saying, well, what's this increase for if the timetables aren't seemingly better? However, South Eastern have said that it's just a small increase, and they've reminded customers that just 2p of every pound from the train fares is actually profit, and the rest of that goes towards the running and maintaining of our rail network.
Yeah, certainly a few more concerns for Kent's commuters. Harry, thanks very much indeed. Now, with the build-up to the weekend's football across the county, here's Joe with the sports.
First up in sport this evening, and in football, 2 Kent sides are taking a break from league action for the FA Cup this weekend. Maidstone boss Harry Wheeler has called their home tie against League One's Oldham one of the biggest in the club's history. But they'll be without top scorer Blair Turgott, as he's been ruled out for up to 6 weeks with ligament damage. Meanwhile, Gillingham travelled to Slough Town on Sunday, the lowest ranked side left in the competition. Ebbsfleet are still in National League action though, as they travel to Aldershot, boasting a 6-game unbeaten streak, as do Eastleigh, who host Dover, as they look to make it 3 wins in a row. Now, one man who will be looking forward to that Dover-Eastleigh tie more than most is Andy Hessenthaler. It's a return to the southwest for the Whites boss to his former club, and a reunion with his former assistant Ben Strevens, who's now in charge of the Spitfires. But friendships will move aside come 3 o'clock on Saturday.
Strebs, who's my assistant there, has got the job, and I'm over the moon for him because he's a fantastic lad, fantastic coach. He's now a manager. They've won again tonight, done us a favour, beating Maidstone. So it's a really tough game. I know all the players, I know all the people there. They're fantastic people. They say it's a fantastic club. But come 3 o'clock, obviously, we know what we're after, and I don't know what they're going to be after. It's going to be a tough game for us, but looking forward to going back.
Meanwhile, Gillingham have been training on an artificial pitch all week to prepare for their FA Cup tie. National League South side Slough Town boasts 3G turf at Arbour Park, something currently banned at Football League level. But that's up for review by the EFL next year. So what do Gillingham think of the plastic pitches? Hear from midfielder Dean Parrott in a moment. But first, here's manager Steve Lovell.
I haven't got a problem with it. I think there's a lot of hype about perhaps it causes a lot of injuries. But you look how many injuries happen on grass, so you know you can't legislate for that. But I think it's from a footballing point of view, from people who want to pass the ball around, and I think especially from youngsters learning how the technical part of the game is the best surface to learn on.
Hopefully it's a little bit moist on the day, because if it's dry it can get a little bit sticky, but if there's a nice little bit of water on it, it can go really well, yeah.
You're up to date on sport. I'll be back with more on Monday, including a brand new episode of Team Talk. Have a great weekend.
And finally, thousands of you across Kent will be getting into the festive spirit this weekend as we head into December tomorrow. Christmas light switch-ons have already begun, with plenty more set to take place during the next couple of days. With a look at what festivities are coming up for you to enjoy, I'm joined now by the KM Group's Angela Cole. Angela, thanks for joining us. Just give us a flavour of what people can expect this weekend.
OK, well, there's loads going on, so it has been hard to pick, but I've picked a few. So one of the biggest events this weekend is the Dickensian Christmas Festival, which has lots of costume characters from Dickens books. They will be parading through Rochester High Street. That's Saturday and Sunday, and also there's the Christmas market on at the castle. So that's going on all weekend. There are still some Christmas light switch-ons that haven't happened yet. We've got tonight there's Sevenoaks, and that's happening in the High Street. And tomorrow there's 2 on the Isle of Sheppey, Sheerness and Minster, and they've got lots of stuff going on all through the afternoon. So plenty going on there. There's a goat at Brogdale. There he is, looking
What's a goat
festive.
got to do with Christmas?
I don't know, but he looks festive with that little red jacket on. He's lovely. So I think he comes out every year. So that's Christmas at Brogdale in Faversham. That's on Sunday. You can see Christmas owls, Santa, take a ride on the miniature railway, and also take a seasonal selfie in a giant inflatable snow globe, if you fancy that.
Very nice.
And finally, there is the wartime Christmas event at Dover Castle. You can go back to the Second World War and learn about making Christmas dinner on rations and paper chains, and you know, when people didn't have much and so on. And that's Dover Castle, and that is on Saturday and Sunday. So plenty going on.
It's quite interesting that as well, isn't it? It just gives you maybe a different perspective on Christmas.
I think it does. I mean, you know, because it shows what you could do when you didn't have much. So, yeah.
And you mentioned the Christmas lights switch-ons there, and there's already been a couple so far. What has been the reception for those so far?
There's been loads, haven't they? I mean, Blue Water started off, which feels like it was weeks ago now. I think it was like 2 weeks ago. So, I mean, they've been going on all over the county, and I think there's a couple more after this weekend. So, I think it makes you feel festive, doesn't it?
Plenty more still to enjoy. Angela, thanks very much indeed.
Okay.
Temperatures will drop a little this evening, although it'll remain dry across the county. The rain will return at the start of the weekend though, but should get slightly warmer as temperatures move into double figures. It's a similar story in the afternoon, but hopefully the rain will relent slightly. And looking ahead to the next few days, the rain is set to stay with temperatures around 12 and 13 degrees. That's just about it from us here this evening on Kent Tonight. There's much more news made just for Kent throughout the evening. Coming up next, the very best bits from the last 7 days on This Week in Kent. And at 6:30, a chance for you to catch up on the latest political news from across the county with the latest edition of Paul on Politics. Don't forget, you can always keep up to date with the latest news from across your county by heading to our website kmtv.co.uk. Have yourselves a great weekend.